I've been very blessed to be raised in a Christian home. We have two very godly parents who are currently probably my heroes, and both love Christ and love me, and I had a very stable and happy childhood. My dad's a pastor, and growing up in a pastor family was unique in some ways in that church was part of our life in a way that it might not be for other people, but it was never to me that we were just going through motions. It was always that this is the way that we love the Lord, is by being part of his body of believers. And I had a fairly happy childhood, although looking back I can see there were places the Lord was bringing trials into our lives. In my life in particular, I lost a lot of different friends in my youth. Fourth grade, I had a fourth grade classmate who died of liver disease. And then later in high school and college, I lost my college roommate who was killed in a car accident. And a friend of mine, that guy that I had been dating, was killed in a farm accident. And these losses just kind of kept reminding me of who God is, who I was, and it caused me to rely on him, I think, in a way that a lot of kids maybe don't have to, because they don't go through that kind of loss at that age. And in retrospect, I think those were very monumental things for me to understand. God is good no matter what, and to trust in him. So there were some, normal struggles that you would have growing up, but overall, I really feel like the Lord gave me such a blessing in having parents who loved him so much, and evidenced that to me and my sister, and a very close family. We moved around several times, and I think that made us closer to each other, and in some ways made me closer to Christ as well. I think when I was very little, I remember asking my mom, was I adopted? It was almost like I wanted there to be some sort of dramatic story in my past, that I was some, long lost something or other. And she'd say, no, Lindy, I was there. I remember when you were born. And I remember wanting to change my name, wanting it to be more exotic, but it was so boring. Couldn't it be like Gwendolyn or something long? Most of that was just the romantic fancies of a very imaginative little girl. But then as I got older, I think there were definitely those struggles of, and maybe not as many as some other people. I had a pretty optimistic attitude. My sister was more the kind of person, I think, that would be more influenced by being shy or wondering what other people thought of her. I was a bit more out there and didn't care so much. But definitely there would be those moments where it would maybe be weird to be pastor's kid, or I would stand out in some way and feel like I didn't want to. Or I would wonder, who am I really? What? I mean, it's a very introspective time in life, because at that point in your life, you don't really have anybody else to care for, but you're intelligent enough to start thinking through things. A little bit further along when I was a young adult, and I remember finally realizing for the first time, oh, Jesus died to save me from my sins, not because I was a good person. It wasn't like God chose me because I was like, oh, isn't that nice, God got me. And it finally hit me that I was sinful, and I was born in sin, and that he saved me from my sin. And it wasn't because I was worth saving, it was because of his mercy. And that's the only good in me was from him. Because it was easy, I think, to think of myself as a good girl who did the right thing, and was, kind to people, and was nice, and then not realize that all of that, anything good in me was from him. And I think that was the biggest change, and that was actually when I was probably out of college, when I finally grappled with that reality, which since then has just become even more, my understanding of that, I think, has grown even more since that time. There are barriers and obstacles and challenges that today's Christian teens face that are new to my experience and to what I have known other Christians to struggle with, that are particularly difficult. And I think that has to do with, obviously, a shift, I think, in the way that human society has viewed religion or Christianity or faith or man's own role in the world. I think in a society that's very man-centered, and even more so as time goes on, accepted norms like a belief in God being an accepted thing has gone away. Now it's kind of supposed to be the thing you do if you're not intelligent, or if you're just kind of a stupid person, you might believe in God. So I think there has been a lot of things deconstructed that now allow our culture to pronounce truths that they think are true, that really aren't, like man being the measure of all things, or there being no right and wrong, for example. And that has happened throughout, obviously centuries, but it is becoming increasingly more common for there not to be an accepted mode of understanding the world in light of who we are in God's eyes. So I think that's very difficult. Difficulty lies in the when you enter a society that doesn't think that way at all. It is a jarring reality, and I think that can be very difficult because our culture is a very strong, just like a friend. A friend is a very strong influence on you. You can imitate them. I did this in high school. Imitate your friends. You get the same outfit. You like the same music. And without realizing it, I think our culture is the same way. It's like that friend that influences you without you noticing it. So I think our culture can be very persuasive, especially to a Christian, because I think some of the things our culture promotes, they promote in the name of compassion, in the name of kindness, in the name of acceptance. And those are all biblical principles, that we ought to be compassionate, loving, others-centered, that we ought to think of others better than ourselves. It's hard to speak out because we're living in a time where it's not acceptable to have lots of different opinions. It feels like we're living in a time that's more promoting we all need to have this one opinion. And to me, that's a little different than when I grew up. I think when I grew up, there were lots of different opinions, but it wasn't as though we were all being told we had to think a certain way. And now I think our culture is much more like that. You would be much more reticent to speak up and disagree with your culture than you would be, for example, when I was a teenager. So that's a big change. That's a big difference. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like 1984 by George Orwell, or some of those novels that promote this, that show this supposed utopian society where we're all told what to think. It's dictated to you, and nobody questions it until somebody does, and that's what makes the story, right? The book is interesting because somebody steps out of that norm and says, "Wait a minute, they're spying on us. They're making us do these things. We don't have to do this." So I kind of feel like that's a little bit our culture now is much more. There's a right way to speak and talk about things, and there's a wrong way. So it's just not the right and wrong that necessarily. And high school definitely is a place I think where you're starting to figure out what you have to offer the world, what people see, how people see you. I had the unique experience of my senior year of high school going to a brand new high school for 1 year. And the one thing I remember that was so freeing, because I walked into that school and nobody knew me. They had never met me before. They had no idea what I was like. All they could see what was on the outside. They didn't know if I was smart. They didn't know if I was musical. They didn't know if I was athletic. They didn't know if I was into comedy. They had no context. And consequently, I was able to be friends with just about every single group in my class because I hung out with the smart kids in the class, and then I would hang out with some of the athletes, and I got to be friends with cheerleaders. And it was just random groups that had nothing to do with each other. But it was so freeing. I was having so much fun because nobody had picked me. It wasn't like I had put into a camp that everybody left me in. And that was instructive to me as a teenager, but now as a teacher as well, to recognize that's what happens in society. People, even as adults, people put you into camps and they think of you one way. So it's funny because that question actually leads right into the verse that I was going to give you as my verse that makes me think of identity, which is Ephesians 2, verse 10. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. The number one thing we ought to do is to live dedicated to Christ, because he's created each one of us unique. He has, we're his handiwork. We're a very special thing that he created and felt proud of what he's done. But he made it that way. He made us that way to do good works that he already has picked out for us. So as long as we are completely submitted to Christ and doing what he wants us to do and emptied ourselves to him, we will be doing the thing he wants us to do, which might be living in a fallen society as a light of Christ. It might be in a Christian community where we are leading other Christians. But whatever it is, if we're submitted to him. A metaphor for this was imagine that God is reaching for his favorite tool, or in this case, his favorite coffee mug. He's reaching, every time he needs you to do something, he's reaching for his favorite, oh, I need that one coffee mug. This is the one I need, this coffee mug to do this job. And I was thinking about how often in my own kitchen I have a coffee mug that, like maybe I put grease from some meat and I let it get hard in there, and I reach for it and I'm like, oh man, it's full of grease. I can't use this coffee mug right now. It's not usable. It's dirty. It's full of something that I don't want in it. And of course, if God is going to use us, if he's going to use each particular coffee mug, handiwork that he's created for that purpose, we have to be empty. I mean, we have to be ready for that use. We can't be full of ourselves. And I guess that's the thing I look back and look at high school is, yes, it's a time of coming into identity. Yes, it's a time of understanding who you are. And the best thing that can happen is if you can get that and then get past yourself and move on. Because I think as a teenager, as a young adult, as a human being, but especially in those times, we are so full of who we are. We're so focused on ourselves that we can't be useful for God. We're kind of like a cup that's half full right now of our own things. But when we figure out, oh, well, I'm this mug and I can't be used until I'm empty, then we can tip ourselves over and empty ourselves out, and the Lord can use us. So to me, if you're not dedicated to Christ, there will be no satisfaction, because your coffee mug will be used for the wrong purpose. And it's only in submitting ourselves to Him that He can reach for us when He needs us for those good works He's already prepared for us to do. And we can fulfill that role that He gave us, that He made us for, which is the most satisfying thing of all. So that idea that He's made things for us to do, and He created us specifically to do those things, each one of us, and He's got this shelf full of mugs that He can pick for whatever purpose He has. That to me is identity. That's who I am. I'm that mug that's waiting for what He wants me to do when I'm ready.